Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Stephen Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Stephen Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
Welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here. YouTube.com/Stephen Larson. Of course, live on the Twitch, twitch.tv/Stephen Larson. Of course, in the audio realm, if you're loving this in the audio realm, do us a favor. Let me explain this algorithm to you.
You know we want to get into it.
Man.
Come on.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I got to temper myself today, Larson. I got to temper myself.
Why?
Because my initial reaction to our first story today, because we got a lot to talk about today. Of course, we're coming off a hot WrestleMania weekend, and we're going to talk about the Smackdown before WrestleMania. We're going to give you our thoughts on Stand and Deliver, and we've got some news about post-Tribal Chief era Roman Reigns and what's going to go on with him. And now we're going to talk about the announcement made during Collision that the Young Bucks and AEW on this week's Dynamite are going to release footage from the All-In Backstage incident involving, I guess, Jack Perry and CM Punk, seemingly in response to CM Punk's Ariel Helwani interview. We're going to talk today about why that's a terrible idea. I assume. I cannot read your mind, so I don't know what your take is.
It's a terrible idea that I can't wait to happen. That's what it is.
All right, so let's get into it.
Let's get into the reporting on it, and we can talk about it ourselves. So, of course, when they made the announcement, the graphic went up. It just said footage from All In, and then they'll be discussing stuff. No direct mention of CM Punk or Jack Perry. Nothing.
First time they're gonna discuss it. Yeah.
Of course, you see that and you're like, they're not gonna show the footage.
What?
They're not gonna. This has got to be a gag, a troll.
Right. A total gag.
It's got to be a setup for something, only to try to crack wise about something. So, Fightful Select, shortly after the announcement, they reported, quote, everyone around the situation we've spoken to at least claims that it is genuine. Footage from the CM Punk Jack Perry altercation is expected to air on Dynamite. So, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez discussed that situation on an episode of Wrestling Observer Radio over the weekend, saying the following: Steve, do you want to be Dave? I'll be Brian Alvarez.
As usual, yes. That's the roles that we have when we're gonna role play as those other guys.
Those other guys. Oh, by the way, we're doing our star ratings for Night 2 WrestleMania after we're done with this. They'll be up today.
Wow. Well, here's the thing, dude. Night 1, you called me at 4 a.m. Let's get these star ratings done so they'll be extra fresh.
I waited till 9:45 today.
Dude, we are just, it was been a long weekend, so they're going to be, a little less fresh than normal.
But still fresher than those other guys. So this is what Brian Alvarez had to say. Quote, it is true, these transcripts come from Cultaholic. Quote, it is true that on Dynamite, Tony Khan is airing the Jack Perry CM Punk footage from All In. It is not a bait and switch. It is 100% confirmed they are airing the footage. Tony was very upset with CM Punk's interview. I was told that he, a long time ago, wanted to air this footage, and for whatever reason, he did not. And now, I guess because of the timing and the interview and what CM Punk said, he's going to air it. We've heard many sides of the stories about what happened, and we're going to see it Wednesday. But I think it's safe to say that if it were the story that CM Punk told, I don't know why Tony would air the footage. Go ahead, Steve.
The funny thing is, when Punk did the interview, I obviously contacted many, many people in the company. And the general thing was, we're moving past that. We don't want to deal with it. Some of it's true, some of it's not true, but whatever, don't want to deal with it. We've got to move forward. And then here we are. Tony's the boss. Tony never said that. Other people said that. And here we go.
So one thing Dave did add is that it seems like the footage that's going to air is strictly going to be the Punk Jack Perry stuff, not anything involving Punk Tony Khan, I would assume, as it relates to Tony Khan feeling threatened, as mentioned in the press release when Punk was fired. Before we get into why this is a bad idea, I just want to say this. If Tony Khan, as part of his announcement that CM Punk had been let go, said, I want the fans to understand why. And here's why. And released the footage, and it wasn't for some ratings ploy. It wasn't to generate any heat for Jack Perry or the Young Bucks. It was simply an informational thing to be transparent about the situation. Maybe just put it up on their YouTube channel, as you mentioned, I think yesterday. Made an appearance on the, Busted Open or some other wrestling radio show. Released the footage that way. Then I'd be like, all right, it's an attempt at transparency. He wants the fans out there to understand exactly why Punk was let go. Is it a great idea? I don't know, but I get it.
So, I agree with your general philosophy of there needed to be more transparency with that. Tony constantly saying, no, I can't answer it. I don't want to answer it. And then, now CM Punk, goes on Ariel Helwani. He gives his side of things, which I don't know, kind of matches up with what we had heard in the first place and didn't really deviate from much. He choked out Jack Perry. What are you laughing at?
Maybe it matches up because he was the one giving the information out in the first place.
Yeah. But I don't know. There wasn't any big revelation there. He said he choked out Jack Perry. I saw on Twitter some scuttlebutt, and it's Twitter scuttlebutt. It's not like anybody credible, that there's the possibility that the chokehold he put on Jack Perry was fairly weak and Jack Perry was able to get out of it pretty quickly. And the idea being that this footage is meant in some way, shape, or form to humiliate, not even necessarily discredit CM Punk. I have no idea why, what the purpose of this is, except, and Based Martian here on our YouTube chat, which is a great name, has a great question here. And that's my main question is, how does this relate to the story of AEW? Now I'm missing the thing, but yeah, the kayfabe,
So I would think, given, I know it's just a week ago, but Matt Jackson saying, hey, love your work, scapegoat.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first step in a way for the Young Bucks to reintroduce Jack Perry into AEW, and I would not be surprised if Jack Perry gets involved in the tag title match at Dynasty and helps the Young Bucks win.
Yeah.
Especially given FTR's relationship, at least historically, with CM Punk.
I think Jack Perry is probably going to join the new elite, new elite. I think that's probably going to be the case. And I guess there is a way that you can frame this as not just a response to CM Punk, but a way to advance Jack Perry's reentry into AEW. He's already been on record as giving his side of the story in terms of being in contact with Tony Khan, which seemed to be, and people took that as serious. I took it, and I think you did too.
Yeah, completely storyline,
as firmly being in character. This idea that, nobody contacted me, I didn't bother to call Tony, it was a lawyer thing, and it was 6 months or whatever it was. And I don't believe that for a moment. I do not believe that at all. He's run with this scapegoat thing in New Japan. And to be honest with you, I think it's the best thing he's probably done so far because Jungle Boy is sort of a non-character. So with all that being said, if it's presented as a way to further a wrestler's story in AEW, I'm actually for whatever they're going to do here. Yes, the Jack Perry's name will forever be linked with CM Punk. And so if that's the case, then you know what? I kind of don't see a problem with it. Because that wasn't part of the reporting that originally came out, just that this is actually going to be the footage.
Yeah.
If it was simply, I'll put it this way, if it's simply the Young Bucks out of character or Tony Khan showing this footage as a direct response to CM Punk, that would be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
To do it to get heat, storyline heat. Now, kind of what you need to do, though, is pivot to what the match is. Because when you introduce a story, generally speaking, you want some sort of match there. And if that ends up being if that ends up being what you say, where Jack Perry helps the Young Bucks beat FTR, then that could set up some stuff because then FTR would get somebody to help them. And then you have a match, you got a story, and you've got wrestlers being used on TV, not time being wasted settling a beef. So in that respect, hey, That's actually not terrible, and you boost your sagging ratings. So,
well, at least temporarily. Yeah.
If it's done strictly out of Tony's mad, then it's an awful idea.
Yeah. I mean, you can still make the case, regardless if it's being used for storyline purposes, it's still an awful idea. That you could easily make that case, that they're taking this incident that for the longest time they've been all hush about. Now that Tony's mad, they want to exploit that incident to pop a number to get some heat on the Young Bucks. If someone were to make that case, I'd be like, all right, I get it. I understand that point of view. It's Tony Khan. We've mentioned this on our pre-show here. Tony Khan, his formative wrestling fandom days were in the message board era.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of times when he feels like he's attacked, we see it in his social media activity. He gets defensive.
Yeah,
he lashes out.
Yeah, he turns into a petulant child. Yeah,
and that's if that's the primary motivation behind releasing this footage, probably not a great idea.
No, I agree with that. If they're able to. So here's also the thing is that AEW's kind of lost the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a lot of stuff. And so I kind of don't know if I give them, I'll put it this way. I'll believe this is a good idea when I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until then, I'm not. It's like, don't, because it is like part of the thing is like the main focal point is still CM Punk.
Yeah.
He don't work for you guys.
Nope.
He's too busy doing hip thrusts with Big E, having a blast WrestleMania weekend and being the focal point of like, the one of the coolest cash-ins we've ever seen.
And here's another thing. I don't think CM Punk feels like he did anything wrong.
Clearly
during all this. No, he doesn't. He doesn't feel like he did anything wrong during the brawl at Brawl Out. He's shown some contrition regarding the media scrum. I think he said he handled that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But, just as recently as the MMA Hours interview, says I didn't sign an NDA to protect myself or keep secret anything I did. It's not like he's gonna, if this video gets out there or when it gets out there, he's gonna be like, I feel like a real asshole now.
Yeah,
I highly doubt it. He doesn't seem like he's losing any sleep over it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So if it's just the in terms of the public opinion of AEW versus CM Punk, I don't feel like CM Punk's going to be swayed one way or the other by it. And people who are fans of CM Punk, they see what he's doing in WWE, and they're like, oh, we don't really give a shit.
Yeah, nobody's
enjoying what he's doing in WWE.
Nobody's going to be convinced of anything by doing this.
No, it's going to reinforce whatever attitudes they may have about CM Punk already. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
again, it's a bad idea, but I can't wait for it to happen because we get to have these discussions. And I imagine what we see, our Dynamite recap on Thursday is probably going to be like us going frame by frame through this Zapruder film style.
Zapruder film, yeah.
And picking things apart and really trying to get down to the motivation behind releasing it. If it's simply a situation where it's grainy, you can't see much, the audio, if there is any, sucks. It's just a garble of yelling, and you see some commotion, you can't really make heads or tails of it, then why the fuck do you put it out?
I'll be honest with you. I would have to imagine that they have got cameras rolling backstage because they like to document everything.
They do.
So this might be like crystal clear HD Killers of a Flower Moon. You know what I mean? Like this could be 8K.
Shots. Yes.
This could be exactly. Yeah. This could be like a really well done montage of a really poor fight. Yeah, look, I don't think it's a good idea. I think generally speaking, and it's funny because like, I put out a tweet. I don't even know why I still bother with Twitter, but it's fun sometimes.
Yeah, I've given up on it for the most part.
And that's why you're smarter than me.
In this way.
I put out like just a tweet of like the Young Bucks announcement, and then next to it, and people who know the Succession shot of Brian Cox and right before he says, "You're not serious people."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it feels like such an unserious thing to do.
It does.
As a guy who's a billionaire and has a pro wrestling company that could be doing such amazing things. And dude, here's the funny thing is, dude, you and I, since college, we've always been interested in the backstage shenanigans of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But speaking for myself, and I think you'll agree with me, how much more satisfying is it to be able to do our job successfully and get the views, if you will, talking about the creative process and the result and the creative result. When we get to talk about Drew McIntyre getting in his own way after he thinks he's reached the promised land, and then his own hubris and his own arrogance and his own character flaws get in his way, and he's susceptible to the cash in because he just bites off too much chew with CM Punk. And how great is it to talk about Roman Reigns losing this 4-year reign coming to a close because he can't help but focus on the wrong thing, Seth Rollins wearing Shield gear and a chair. That is so much more satisfying. I would much rather talk about some brilliant creative that AEW's coming with than backstage stuff. It just so happens we talk about what the conversation is.
Yeah.
And the conversation this weekend was WrestleMania and how good, or like night one, not great it was.
Yeah.
But like yesterday, and you see it in the numbers, when you talk about something that's really, really well executed, and people are talking about it, people
and excited about it. Yeah. Yeah.
They're excited about it. They'll come to you in droves. And it's hard work. It's hard work for them, for WWE, to write this stuff, to execute these storylines, to direct this stuff on TV. It's not easy. Vince was phoning it in and he was out of touch for decades. And that's why the backstage stuff did better than the on-screen stuff. And now it's the flipped, and that's the way it should be. It's the way it always should have been.
Mm-hmm.
AEW, for a spell, they had us getting those views, if you will, based on what they were doing on TV.
Yeah.
And now what do you got to do? You got to resort to drudging up something that happened 6 months ago off a dude who hasn't been with the company for that long.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to try to pop your rating. And that's what we're using as our thumbnail today. Because that's what people are talking about, how bad of an idea this was. And there's a subset of people who are like, well, AEW has a right to defend themselves against CM Punk. That's fine. If Tony wants to go on Busted Open or, a friendlier outlet, seemingly, than Ariel Helwani is to him.
Yeah.
Because there seems to be some sort of beef there. Then go defend yourself. He's had opportunity.
Yeah, people have asked him the questions. His
He
answers
says,
are
I don't
always
want
the
to talk
same.
about it. He always says, I don't want to talk about it.
Not going to talk about it. Don't want to talk about it.
So you want to defend yourself? Defend yourself. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there are wrestlers who are not being used, who could be using that TV time to forward their stories. You're about to crown your first black AEW World Champion. That should be your focus.
Yeah, I know. And you run the risk of overshadowing what's going well creatively in your company by resorting to potential stunts like this. It feels like it reeks of desperation. Like the last 2 weeks, the numbers for Dynamite haven't been great, and like they've been down about 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's air this footage, get people talking. I mean, pretty soon after the end of night one, the conversation online was more so, or at least just as much about, wow, what a terrible idea it is to release this footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just as much as it was about night one of WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some excitement for a variety of reasons. There's the train wreck atmosphere of it, or point of view of it, that this could be an utter disaster. There's people that seemingly are genuinely excited that AEW, as you mentioned, are sticking up for themselves. It kind of runs the gamut. And I don't know what we're going to get on Wednesday. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It could be an absolute disaster, or if it's all about framing. If they frame it in a way that's like, okay, we're going to advance story, and this is just the mechanic we're going to use to kind of introduce this next beat or whatever of the story. Yeah. All right, airing the footage probably still ain't a great idea, but at least you're using that as a catalyst to advance the story. I understand. If it's just a publicity stunt because Tony Khan's pissed, not the way to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, if this ends up being like part of the FTR, match coming up, and they start running this footage, and FTR is well known to be close with CM Punk, or at least they have been.
Yeah.
And they come out and they say, "Hey, this is bullshit. This guy's not even in the company. What are you doing right now?" Talking to the EVPs, not Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Then you it's a stunt, but it's a stunt that's involving stories with wrestlers that are having matches. And like I said, if they do that, fine. It still feels it just feels desperate and cheap to put this out there. It just feels kind of desperate and cheap. And if it's true that Tony was super pissed off about the CM Punk interview, well, hey, Tony, you've had plenty of opportunities to talk about this, and every single time you said, no, I don't want to talk about it. So, you're sort of making your own bed there.
Yeah. You know what, Tony? Go on Talk is Jericho. Do a 2-hour show about all this.
Yeah, right.
Done. Then you're offering up your perspective on a favorable or an outlet that'll be favorable to you, and you get your narrative out there, just like Punk had opportunity to do on the MMA hours.
Yeah.
Fine. Do it that way.
Yeah.
We like to talk about the creative side of things. Let's talk about the creative side of things because, Roman Reigns, put up your one, Steve, might be the last time you get to do it.
You keep on saying it's I think it's done, right? Like it's kind of done.
I mean, just because he's not the champ doesn't mean Roman Reigns still isn't my tribal chief. Let's see if that's still the case after tonight on Raw.
Well, hold on a second. Before we talk about this, I want to talk about our new tribal chief here at Going In Raw. Throw your ones up for Cruz, Larson. Throw your ones up for Cruz. There you go. Might be the last time we could do it because we've got another Big Blue Predictions Challenge coming up right around the corner. I don't know what we're going to do at Dynasty or the next WWE pay-per-view. I don't know what's going to happen. But is it going to be another 2-week event, or are we just going to do like an Advantage one, or what? What are we going to do?
I don't know. We got to discuss that because there is 2 weeks
it.
between Dynasty and Backlash. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. But we've got a new Big Blue Predictions champion. It's Cruz. I got to reach out to Cruz, get that picture so that he can get the Big Blue title on the picture. And then I'm going to go ahead and order that hat for him. And it was wildly fun. 315 friendos participated. Awesome. And out of all, it was a 315-person scramble along with two opportunities at cash-ins. But Cruz heads and tails above everybody else.
Yeah.
And congratulations on that. And if you want in on the next Big Blue Predictions Challenge, it's very easy. We offer 2 ways to do it. It's the Friendo Club setup. Patreon.com/Steven Larson. Choose the Friendo Club setup. It's $5 a month. Or click join right here at YouTube.com/Steven Larson. It's $5 a month. You get the access to the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. You get access to our bonus episodes. Later on today, got a brand new Friendo cast going up. And we take a look at, I guess it's some sort of like newspaper clipping from 1632 in London. And it says how everybody who died that year or the year earlier, the year before, how they, like the manner in which they died. One person died. It just says I think it was 13 people died.
13 people died by planet.
By planet. What does that mean? I don't know. We talk about it. And then we answer a bunch of questions. We go at least an hour every single week. The one thing we don't talk about, professional wrestling.
No wrestling
we do
talk.
Enough of that. We do enough of that here.
Plenty of that.
So check that out. And it's a great way to support Going In Raw. And then also, man, we are so close to our next subscription goal thanks to WrestleMania weekend. Right now, we are at 201,030, and we're trying to get
72 away.
We're how much away?
72.
72 subscribers away. So if you're watching this right now, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button and the notify bell. We're going live 5 days a week now at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're starting NXT reviews this week. Goodbye, Collision. We're not doing Collision because it's just like the non-story wrestling.
It's too much
show.
On the weekend, and not enough happens on the show. Yeah,
right, exactly. So NXT reviews are back for people who wanted that back. Guess what? We're doing them on Wednesdays, day after the show. So to make sure that you're getting your notifications that we're going live, be sure to hit that subscribe button, the notify bell, and while you're here, we've got 1,200 people watching. Hit that thumbs up, man. It really does help us get into that YouTube algorithm. We like to be around 50% with the likes, and right now we're well below that. We're closer to like 20%, not even that.
Smash that like button is what you're trying to say.
Smash it, and even an odd number of times. We got a new channel member, new Friendo Club setup member, Frolicious, says, fun weekend. Wait, there is a collision? Yeah, we're not going to talk about it today. Kevin Sanabria here with a super chat says, do you think if this is not a swerve, it'll be the sad last days of AEW?
No, as long as Tony Khan wants to pour money into the company, AEW will be around. And they
I
have
wonder-
a TV deal. And they're going to get a pretty, I don't know if I'll say pretty significant or substantial. They're going to increase in their TV rights for sure.
This was the first time, like when I saw this thing, I was so like shook by it. I was like, man, that they're desperate. This is not good. And so I don't think it's a sad last days because, as you said, Tony Khan's a billionaire. It's nothing for him to keep this thing afloat. Whether or not it plays well with cable TV, if the cable TV people are like, what are you doing over there? Then that could shake up the deal. Mm-hmm. But seemingly they're on the verge of a deal. They've been saying that for a while. But maybe it'll happen. If it happens, they're going to be around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Bob Friendo became a Friendo Club setup member. I don't like how he's really like micromanaging these days.
Really, it's enough for him to send the emails. Hey, you didn't reach your likes goal today. Guess what?
Yeah.
10% less you're making this week.
Now
that's a tough pill to swallow. And now everywhere.
Yeah, Bob Friendo's everywhere.
Everywhere, and it's this amount of pressure I'm not used to. I don't handle pressure well.
I know. I
fold.
I agree with that. Like that. Boom.
I fold under pressure. And I don't like the pressure of Bob Friendo, the dark cloud that is
dark cloud.
Bill Bob Friendo looming over us every time we do a show. I want to do a show relaxed.
You're right.
Talk.
Yeah. That's why we're here remotely.
Jokes.
That's why we're doing this remotely, so we can relax. You're in your house. I'm in my house. Anyways, Bob Friendo, he's a new Friendo Club setup member. Eastside Reviews with a super chat says, like Vince in the 90s with the Trillionaire Ted skits.
Yeah.
This seems childish and petty. I thought about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that or the Huckster and Nacho Man. Yeah.
Kiddo Hudson here, member for 9 months now, says, do you think they'll blur out CM Punk's face when they show the footage?
No, I don't know why they would.
They're going to try to just get this as crystal clear as possible.
They're going to freeze frame and zoom in so you know everybody there.
Exactly. Yeah, Joe's
Arrow, CM Punk. Arrow, Jack Perry.
Yeah.
Arrow to Samoa Joe yelling at them to stop fighting.
Yeah. Stop it. Grow up.
Yeah, exactly.
George Sotiro here, also a new Friendo Club setup channel member. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody, for the memberships, the subs over on Twitch, super chats, the bits, highlighted messages, just in general hanging out with us, watching WrestleMania over the weekend. We really do appreciate it. So thank you to everybody.
Absolutely. Now, Larson, we can talk about what happens next with Roman Reigns. Throw your ones up. Might be the last time.
So, now that Roman's dropped the title to Cody, Cody's finished the story. It's past tense, already happened. What's next for Roman Reigns? He's had this epic, historic title reign, nearly 4 years. You can't just disappear and fall back down the mid-card. That wouldn't make any sense. So, Triple H gave us a hint of what we can expect when he was talking at the media scrum after night 2 of Mania last night. These transcripts come to you from SE Scoops. It's what the game had to say. Quote, before I talk on Cody, let me talk about Roman. There's a lot of banter about greatest of all time. You can make arguments for a lot of people on that, and there's a lot of metrics you could measure that by, or opinions, or whatever that is. If he is not, he is one of, absolutely for certain, the greatest of all time. To do what he has done, to overcome all the things in his career, the positioning and the stuff they had to go through, and hung in there to get where he needed to be, to deal with his physical issues and his health issues, to overcome the pandemic, to overcome just everything that he's had to deal with on the way here, then to go out there and put on a run like nobody has ever put on before. A run of just epic, epic moments, epic storytelling. I see that word cinema thrown around a lot, but it really is. There's few guys that come along in our business where you say during that period of time that they were in it, they changed the industry. He changed the industry. I mean that in front of the camera. I mean that behind the camera. He changed the industry. He's that good. I can't say enough good stuff about him. Then to do what he did tonight with Cody Rhodes is not completing the story. It's just getting to the end of this chapter, because he's going to go on a whole new story now that is going to blow people's minds, I think. I know he's going to take it to a whole nother level, but I can't tell you how much respect I have for Roman Reigns.
I think Eastside Reviews in our YouTube chat has it right. Karrion Kross feud.
Again, I said I don't expect Roman Reigns to fall back down the mid card. No.
Smackdown, Karrion Kross.
So let's put our
he's
fast.
like, listen, your old lady. No, listen, hold it. Hear me out.
You're obviously not taking this seriously, Steve.
Oh my gosh, how long have we known each other? You know my serious face. Like, he's
no,
like,
you do serious face. That's your unserious face. I know you.
Listen, Karrion Kross, Roman Reigns comes out. He says, you know, a lot of reasons I might have lost. I could blame Undertaker. I could blame friggin' Jey Uso. I could blame John Cena. None of those people. Karrion Kross, your old lady, came out here a year ago plus, and she left a friggin' little sand hourglass.
Hourglass, yeah.
And it really fucked with me. All right, like I haven't been able to stop thinking about that hourglass. And honestly, your wife, because oh man, right? And you know, hey, let's do this. And then Karrion Kross is like, hey, Roman Reigns and your wife, good looking couple. Can we buy you a drink? And it's like, wow. Yeah.
My goodness.
It's like a swingers type situation.
Yeah, it is going to get into key party territory is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. Key party match.
Yeah. So, it would be interesting to happen tonight on Raw. They haven't advertised anything for Raw.com as of, I don't know, right before we started the show. I'll hit refresh. I have it up right now.
I believe it's the Raw after Mania.
It is. So, excitement always abounds for the Raw after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this new story that's going to blow people's minds is Triple H actually effectively getting Roman Reigns over as a babyface. Something Vince could never do.
Oh, yeah. You know, I do appreciate that, like, you know, we talked about this yesterday. Everything now, and even in this quote, everything Roman had to go through.
Yes.
Come on now. He means Vince.
Yes.
And just how Vince was completely out of touch the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have, whether it's tonight, whether it's SmackDown on Friday, whatever the case, I would expect tonight because everybody's probably still going to be in town after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
You have The Rock turn on Roman tonight, gets the weight belt, beat the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
You'll let, you know, he kind of does a much more heelish version of what Triple H did with DX after Shawn Michaels lost to Stone Cold after WrestleMania 14, which is, you let us down, you're out.
Yeah.
You're out. Maybe Jacob Fatu debuts tonight. Maybe even Tama Tonga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Rock debuts a reconstituted bloodline with him as the leader. And then you got some interesting stuff there. You got Heyman in a position where it's like, well, I'm the wise man, the special counsel for Roman, but then the Rock's acting like, no, you're with me still. You're the special counsel for the bloodline. That puts Heyman in an awkward situation. You get Roman just taking a hellacious beat down from The Rock and the rest of the bloodline. They all turn on him. And, you know, obviously The Rock's not going to be there on a week-to-week basis. He's going to show up here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I don't know if that means you have, you know, he still has Heyman out there, even though he's kind of not really comfortable with the situation. The week-to-week kind of face of the bloodline, along with, you know, Jimmy and Solo and now Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. Maybe over the summer they build up to Rock Cody for the title at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Roman gets involved, costs Rock that match. All building up. It's all going to build up to Rock Roman at Mania 41.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I love that idea. I had proposed, I think over WrestleJuice, maybe I did it here too. I don't know. Got too many things going on. And obviously it's not going to happen this way, but I kind of liked the idea of Bloodline helping Drew win the title. And then like Rock, I love the idea of Rock being the final boss and being like extra nasty, putting together like a bloodline of mercenaries, and like Jimmy's wrapped up in it, but he's like, hey Jimmy, or he's like, hey Solo, I thought we were going to be kind of like running the bloodline now. And instead final boss has Tama Tonga coming in, who's like not even family. He's got Jacob Fatu coming in. I mean, they're like tangential family, you know?
Well, Jacob Fatu is very much family.
He's family, but I don't think Tama Tonga is.
No. But I mean, not direct relative, but you know, like I you know, the Anoa'i family, I think considers they're close to Haku and his family. The Rock bought Haku a truck. Calls him Uncle Haku, I think. So
So, but the idea is you've got like, what if they bring in Jacob Fatu, who clearly is family, but he's also like, he's a mean dude, you know, like if you look at that guy, he looks like a mean dude.
Yeah.
I love the footage of that fan
Oh, he just trucks him, man. He just trucks him.
Completely trucks the dude. But if you have Fatu as like this sort of over the top, like you thought Solo was bad. He's just the enforcer and he's quiet, but Fatu is like this maniac.
He's the wild card.
Yeah. So he comes in and Jimmy and Solo all of a sudden are like, the fuck is going on here? Like these guys are like running the place. Like, oh my God. And so you've got this like corrupted version of the bloodline and they're running the show and Rock isn't even there. And so like there's nobody. And like even Heyman's like, man, this kind of sucks, but like I'm stuck. I'm here, because Roman's gone.
Yeah.
Where the hell is Roman?
Yeah.
He's off, messing with Scarlett and Cross. No, that doesn't happen. But I like that idea of like, Roman is like, he's extra bad. He's extra burnt because Roman lost. Rock is extra burnt because Roman lost. Roman goes away. And so that's Roman's story. He's got to come back and, reclaim the family honor, basically.
Yeah.
And it turns Jimmy and it turns Solo into sympathetic characters.
Who the first person should offer a helping hand to Roman is? Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah.
Looking to heal the wounds that caused the tribal chief to be, Seth's taking blame.
Yeah.
For Roman turning into the tribal chief. Seth has to be the first one out there to say, Roman, let's work through the shit and let's get through this together.
And that's gotta be Roman's next big story is he's got to heal that original sin. He has to heal from that.
Yeah.
I mean, the turn was in 2016? No. When was the turn?
It was it June 2014?
Oh, wow. Was it 10 years ago? Wow.
Yeah, it was shortly after Mania 30, yeah.
Okay. Boy, that'd be something else if it was actually June, because I think it was June.
Yeah.
If they were to do some big story beat in 2 months involving Seth and Roman, like what if Roman goes away for 2 months? Meanwhile, this bloodline is just, and I don't know, Clash of the Castle or something like that. Mm-hmm. They do a Cody thing with the bloodline. And I'm not even opposed to at some point the final boss getting that title and then Roman winning it from him at 41. I mean, you could totally do it away from the title, but title being the thing would be kind of cool. And I don't know if does Cody need like a 3-year reign? You know what I mean? Like, can we start messing around with these reigns a little bit?
Yeah.
So they're not so precious. So what do you think is going to do, Cody? He tweeted out a picture of his dad's title.
And then the current one. We're going to have some amalgam. We're going to have probably the current shape of the title with the giant eagle on it, and then the W logo shoehorned in some fashion.
And then somebody's going to get on Twitter and show us a slightly different version that's way better.
Yeah.
They're going to make it look way cooler. It's like, hell. Why couldn't we have just got this?
Yeah. Yeah. No, but there's a lot of interesting stuff they could do with Roman going forward, with Seth, with Cody, with The Rock, and with creative now seemingly really focused on telling stories involving complex 3-dimensional characters with flaws.
Yeah.
I'm curious where they take this. Mm-hmm. And if it leads to, like the last time, and obviously John Moxley's not coming back to WWE anytime soon. Mm-hmm. If ever as an active competitor. Don't know. But the last time they did that Shield reunion, where it just felt so forced.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it didn't feel organic.
Sure. Yeah.
If they tell the story of Seth and Roman working out the issues that stem from the betrayal in 2014, and coming, maybe not being friends or brothers or whatever, but having an understanding where Roman can heal. And his character can move on from that incident.
Yeah.
And maybe become the massive babyface star that they always intended him to be. Mm-hmm. That could be a really good story.
Yeah, no, it definitely could. It could. And it makes me wonder, like, because it obviously seemed like this WrestleMania they viewed as, he said it a million times, the start of a new era. They were all, basically washing away Vince McMahon, the stink of Vince McMahon, and saying, hey, Levesque is the guy. He's the guy. It makes me wonder, like, what kind of, like, arcs we're going to be seeing. Like, is it going to be like a Mania to Mania type thing? You know, is SummerSlam, are they going to really try to juice up SummerSlam? Like, how are they going to be telling their stories going forward?
Yeah.
Because last night, you know, night 2 of WrestleMania was incredibly satisfying, and it felt big. And yeah, you've got the opportunity to do some really interesting stuff. And dude, Rock went 45 minutes. He could go 22. You know, I feel in a one-on-one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. But yeah, clearly Roman is a face now. You know, like the next time we see him, crowd's gonna go crazy for Roman.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just throw this last one in because you talk about Seth, and I saw this great tweet today. I don't know who it was a random person. Said, it's so amazing that Seth Rollins sort of agreed to go through everything he went through this weekend, you know, but you can't tell me that everything he went through, and this is the crazy thing about wrestling, and it's not shocking, everything he went through is probably ideal for his popularity. He was Cody's shield. I've seen a million people say that, and that's the truth. He said, I'm going to be your shield, and he was that. He facilitated all those good feelings going through that stadium. And if you think fans are not going to understand that, then you're crazy. He is going to be even more popular now than he was on Friday going into this thing. That's absolutely crazy.
Seth was willing to sacrifice everything to be the one to put an end to the tribal chief because he felt responsible for the creation of the tribal chief and all the destruction and damage that the bloodline has wrought over WWE the last 4 years. Seth felt responsible for that. He said as much. And he was willing to take you know, to lose the title, to be Cody's shield, to take that chair shot in the back. If it meant the downfall of the bloodline, 1,000% he was willing to do it because I think both for himself and maybe for Roman, that needed to happen for the healing to begin.
And nothing gets that. They have done such a great job getting that World Heavyweight Championship over as an important title, and nothing gets that done more than him losing it and crying. When he looked at Drew and said, you fucking finally deserve that, or whatever he said. Yeah. Man, like the emotion on his face gives us that emotional connection to the title. And now that Roman Reigns and his 4-year run is over with, you know, we don't know how long Cody's run is going to be. And yeah, Cody's the guy, obviously. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily make his version of the title the thing. You know what I mean? I kind of appreciate that he's going to rebrand the title because it keeps that title, the Roman title, and that special thing was above all the other ones. Now Cody's got his own version of the title coming up, and that's going to be starting out kind of on the same level as the World Heavyweight Championship. And it all depends on Clash of the Castle is coming up in June. You have to think that the World Heavyweight Championship is going to main event Clash of the Castle because of the Drew McIntyre connection. And on top of that, right now it's on Damian Priest, and it's not like he's been established as a top guy. He's going to be establishing himself as a top guy.
Hopefully he has a title defense tonight to get that started right away.
But that thing is going to be main eventing pay-per-views now. And before it was never going to be possible because of Roman Reigns, and now we're sort of on the even playing field. And because of Seth Rollins, that title is where it's at.
And credit to Drew McIntyre, because I think the story with Seth
1,000%
is really the story that helped elevate it.
Absolutely.
All right. You want to talk NXT Stand and Deliver? We both watched it. Although I didn't watch Shawn Spears versus Joe Gacy. I didn't have time to watch that one, but I watched all the main card.
Yeah.
It was a really fun show. The crowd was awesome.
Crowd was great.
I saw something on Twitter, and I didn't check the numbers, where over the last 3 years for Stand Deliver, I think like 3 years ago it was somewhere around 6,000 or 7,000 tickets, and then last year's a couple thousand more, and this year is it was up to 13,000 tickets they sold for Stand Deliver, which is huge. That's a lot of buildings. That's a sellout.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
NXT has had a lot of momentum over the last 6-8 months. There's a lot of excitement about NXT. A lot of people that are massive fans of what Shawn Michaels is doing there.
Yeah.
And I feel like slowly, PLE after PLE, they're trying to, and a lot of times very successfully, recapturing the magic of the takeovers. And it's good to see where you get a good 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour show of just awesome wrestlings and interesting stories told in the ring. I don't know if I had more fun watching a match this weekend than I did that North American title match.
How did Obafemi get both of those dudes up on his show? That was nuts. That was so much fun. Yeah, that was a blast. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to dive back into NXT doing reviews this week. Because I get the feeling, I still, from time to time I'll pop it on, and I can tell I'm still going to have some issues with the way it's presented. But you can't deny that what they're trying to do with NXT is absolutely move the business forward. And I mean that from a character standpoint, from a representation standpoint, from a wrestling standpoint, from a story standpoint. It has, like you said, got a lot of momentum, and a lot more people are talking about NXT these days. And you like to see it pay off in a palpable way, in a tangible way, by looking at attendance. Yeah. And that crowd was hot. That crowd, knew what they were getting. They wanted to see these stories play out. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially with the CW deal coming up soon, what changes they make, if there are going to be any changes to presentation, if they're going to look to tour. Right now, WWE is a hot brand. And it's one thing for NXT back in 2021 to be like, when it was 2.0, okay, we're not going to tour. Now, based on the strength of the brand, I think it might be possible for them to go and sell out 5,000 seat venues. I don't know if they want to try that, if they're going to risk that. But the brand itself, WWE, is really hot. If they do the thing where they maybe try to juice those TVs up, the tapings up with some main roster stuff, maybe they can sell out 5,000 seat venues. I don't know. Or at least get them to be a healthy audience. You got to think at this point they could do a better attendance number than AEW does.
Yeah. You would think if they, not even 5,000, if they could find 2,000 seat venues that they could fill.
A packed 2,000 seat venue looks
with
really
that
good.
Energy.
Yeah.
That's going to translate well on TV. Obviously there's something to be said for put on a wrestling show in front of a huge crowd, but I would much rather watch a wrestling show in front of a small crowd, 2,000 or so, and them being excited and into the show than an episode of Raw in front of 12,000 people and they're all kind of sitting on their hands,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because as we saw between nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania, the crowd makes a massive difference in terms of how you perceive the show as you're watching it.
Yeah.
If the crowd is energized and into the matches and into the stories, it's hard for you as a viewer not to do the same.
Yeah.
And if the crowd's sitting on their hands and not giving the performers the reactions that they need,
yeah,
the show's going to feel like it lacks energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they could find a way to take the show, even just part-time, they do a tour up the East Coast over 3 weeks. 3 weeks back at the Performance Center. Go through the Southwest for 3 weeks. 3 weeks back at the Performance Center. Even just tour in stretches and find even 1,000, 2,000 seat venues that have character, that they could fill up, and if they're putting on good shows in front of good crowds, that's going to go a long way to helping that brand. And then if that's successful, you can start making the touring stretches longer and shorter time at the Performance Center.
Yeah.
Just do it gradually.
Yeah. You can totally do that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know in terms of the financials of all that, if that's something NXT would be, or WWE would be interested in doing with NXT, or seeing as it's a developmental brand still, they want to allow the performers all the time they can have at the Performance Center to train and to learn their craft, as opposed to, apart from any financial concerns, they want to maximize every talent's time at the Performance Center, maximize their learning opportunities there. and not worried so much about the touring aspect. But once you get to the main roster, the touring aspect's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You know, and you could do a loop in Florida over the course of the weekend. That's not quite the same as having to fly from Orlando to somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, right.
Rent the car.
Yeah.
You know, do your 4-day swing and then fly home. You know, it's a different experience. And to kind of get that, at least in a smaller level, I think would be a huge benefit to the performers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking at the results right here. I did watch the Gacy Spears match. I was kind of surprised that Spears lost that because like Ridge Holland attacks Gacy. There's like a chair shot and then Gacy still ends up winning, which I love. I like Joe Gacy. I think that there's like, they need to crack him somehow because I like the idea of Joe Gacy. It's just, I've never seen him do anything. I'm like, oh man, this is it. You know what I mean?
I know.
But clearly he's a hell of a performer and he's got charisma. It's just, there's something there that they need to, and maybe, honestly, maybe it's just like in that setting, that character is not really going to work. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be with that presentation. I don't know. Forgotten Media has a point. Says maybe they do college basketball arenas for NXT. If you want to get a crowd with energy, and I don't know, I don't know what NXT's viewing demographics are like now.
Yeah.
You would hope at this juncture they're appealing to a younger audience than they were a couple years ago.
Yeah, right.
3-4 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
But if the demos say, if we tour, you know, modest size college campus venues, whether it's basketball arenas or something else. I mean, hell, the first time I went to a Monday Night Raw, it wasn't at the Kings basketball arena, it was at the event center at UC Davis.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that was not a 10,000 seat venue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was 1998, early 98. If they could do something like that and get, you know, have a damn student section. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Hand out Chase U flyers and have a student section where they have discount tickets for students at that school. That would be cool.
What'd you think of the tag match?
It was like nonstop 11.5-minute scramble. You know, and I was kind of, when they had that video package on Smackdown about Braun Breaker and it's like all his measurables as far as his athletic ability, and it's like I know he's fast. I see he's fast in the ring. Does he run a 4.38? I don't know about that. If he did, he'd probably be playing professional football somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, because that is a fast 40 time. But them leaning into his crazy athleticism, and perhaps my favorite part of that match is where he leaped up effortlessly to do the Frankensteiner off the top and like pointed. Like he took a beat up there to showboat for a second before doing it.
Yeah.
Like you could tell he's getting super comfortable as a performer in the ring.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And that always kind of felt like what he needed, even when he was champion. There felt like there was still something where he was still getting his feet under him as a performer. And I don't know if it's turning heel, teaming with Baron Corbin, what it was. He seems comfortable now.
He really does. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, you know, it's funny because when I saw their entrance, I was like, oh man, they need to work on this, the Frazier and Axiom, because it's just they took Axiom's
still do the
entrance.
the
I can't stand that.
Thing.
That is the worst.
Especially with two people, it just becomes, it's too much.
But given they made such a big deal about Braun Breaker being on SmackDown, I was kind of surprised. I thought, oh, Baron Corbin might eat this pin, and then they're going to break up the team, obviously. But the Wolf Dogs retained against Axiom and Frazier.
Really fun match.
They are a really fun team.
Yeah.
I mean, so both of these teams are, but especially Axiom and Frazier, they're like a perfect match.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. That kick that Axiom hit on Braun Breaker, and Braun was like basically running at him full speed.
Yeah,
that looked devastating. It was so good. That was a really fun match.
Yeah, Dope says he thought it was fake also, but he thinks but apparently maybe he verified somewhere that he actually did run a 4.38.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
All right then. I mean, he's fast. I can tell when he runs in the ring. He's fast.
Yeah, he's ridiculously fast. But you're right, 4.38. That's a bit much, but maybe it's true.
Yeah, could be.
It says here, Eric Clark says Braun was signed by the Ravens in 2020, but he was released after training camp.
Yeah, no, I heard that. He was a linebacker, wasn't he? In college?
That I don't know.
Yeah, if you're a linebacker running 4.38. Anyways, I'm not an NFL scout, so what do I know? Next was a North American championship match, triple threat match. Obafemi champion against Dijak, Josh Briggs, Again, nonstop, just devastation, crazy stuff happening. I don't know. Oh, wait, Dreville says he's a fullback. All right. I don't know if there's anything more entertaining for me in the world of wrestling than getting 2, 3, 4 huge dudes who are super athletic in their intent on beating the hell out of each other and doing cool, destructive stuff. I don't know if pro wrestling gets any better for me than that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Especially, Dijak is like kind of my perfect wrestler. And like,
because he can do it all.
Yeah.
He can do it all.
Yeah.
You want him to work stiff and throw hands? He can do that. He can do the aerial stuff. He's strong. He's huge. He's 6'7". He's not a small dude.
Yeah.
And Obafemi, even though he's only been wrestling for a short amount of time, like his presence. He's obviously super strong and super athletic, but his presence and his charisma.
To have him in there with Dijak, a guy who is best known probably for his matches against Keith Lee, just amazing matches, two big dudes doing crazy shit. It's like the perfect opponent. And Josh Briggs is a steady hand. He's a good wrestler, been around for a while. Those are great names for Obafemi to be in there with. And absolutely he held his own. He looked like a star in there against those guys. Yeah. And just the overwhelming power that they're presenting with Obafemi. This dude is going to be a star. He's going to be big time.
Oh yeah.
And you love to see it. A really, really awesome North American champion they got right now. And he ended up retaining the title like I figured he probably would.
And they did a pretty effective job of setting up a feud with Dijak and Briggs afterwards, because Briggs cost Dijak the title twice at the end.
Yeah.
And this match had it all. Crazy feats of strength and athleticism.
Crowd was booing that first time Briggs interrupted the Dijak pin.
Yeah.
People are into Dijak, and it's not surprising. He's got that thing where he understands the gimmick is goofy, but he's enjoying himself, and that's like a really sweet spot to be in.
It is.
I don't know how it's going to play on a main roster.
I don't know if it will, but
yeah.
After that, we had a 6-woman tag match: Fallon Henley, Kalani Jordan, and Thea Hale teaming up against Izzy Dame, JC Jane, and Kiana James. Again, another really fun match. This, the story of this goes all the way back to when JC was teaming up with Thea Hale. And Thea Hale getting the win here, not on JC Jane. I'm sure that's going to happen at some point, but on Izzy Dame, having her tap out to the Kimura. A lot of good back and forth. Kalani Jordan is really good, super athletic. Fallon Henley's gotten over. After the breaking up with Briggs and Jensen. This was fun.
This had the ingredients to be an absolute mess, but my God, this was actually a really good match. I was super like into this match. It was just really solid, really fun, very physical. Wasn't a mess. It was controlled chaos, and there's a difference there. This was an awesome match. I loved it.
It was a lot of fun. Another awesome match. We had Roxanne Perez winning the NXT Women's Championship against Lyra Valkyria. This is one of those matches where Roxanne attacked Lyra's arm early. That was her, Lyra's walking in injured with the shoulder. And Roxanne was dominant throughout. But just because she was dominant didn't mean the match wasn't captivating.
Yeah, right.
And especially the finishing sequence was so damn good. And Lyra, despite the injury, was putting up a fight as best she could. Man, this was good. Heel Roxanne is really good.
Heel Roxanne is really, really good. Glad to see she's a 2-time champion now. Really, really just awesome match. Great finish. Yeah, this was the North American title match was match of the night, but this comes in a close second. This was really good. Yeah. Then it was announced, Ava announced that we're getting a women's North American title, which is awesome. They need to do that on main roster. They need to get the women's Intercontinental, women's United States Championship.
I know. They really do. They really do. Also, Julia was in attendance and got a great reception from the live crowd.
She looked surprised that she got such a big reaction. People are interested in seeing it. Again, it's interesting to see them maybe load up on, outside WWE, free agents.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see who lands in NXT. For all we know, Jacob Fatu might land in NXT, they don't do the corrupt bloodline storyline that we've seemingly just booked.
Yeah, which would be really good. They should do that.
They should do that.
Then we had the NXT Championship match. Ilya defending against Tony D'Angelo. It's one of those matches where the outcome really wasn't in doubt, even though Ilya's hand was supposedly all busted up. We knew Ilya was going to win this.
Yeah,
got the most time. I don't know if it needed the most time, but it was a solid.
Oh, it did
match.
get the most time?
It got 17 minutes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this should have been 12. Yeah, it's Tony D. You know, I don't know if I can ever keep. I mean, he wears like an undershirt for his ring attire.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. I don't know. Look, man, I am well known for, being down on a person and then turning on them. Maybe one day I'll come around to Tony D. But since day one, and he hasn't really changed much since that very first vignette, since he was talking about the docs. I'm like, what are you the dawn of?
Yeah.
Well, it's NXT, but like, what does that mean?
I know.
Sometimes things are too vocational. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, are you a mob boss? Like, I know he's killed people.
Yeah.
Or they've insinuated that anyways.
Yeah. 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 Cole Carter.
Yeah. 2 dimes.
Yeah.
But I think killed pretty deadly, but then they survived.
Yes. There's attempted murder there. Yes.
Attempted murder. But yeah, I don't know. I don't, but then maybe one day I'll get there with him.
Yeah.
But right now I still just see him the same way I did the first time he was in NXT 2.0.
Yeah, I know. I do. I do too. And like, he's a good wrestler in terms of whatever the limitations of his particular gimmick is. Like, he's doing a good job performing the character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fault him as a performer for this not working. It just doesn't seem, I don't know, as he said, that sometimes things can be a little too specific, vocational, if you will.
Yeah.
Where, all right, you're the Don of NXT. What does that mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, is your criminal enterprise strictly within the walls of the Performance Center? Like, you got a numbers racket going there in the Performance Center? Like, what is it?
But then Alexa Lopez was working the docks.
Yeah, she had an operation on the docks. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And how does that relate to being the Don of NXT?
Right. And why are you wrestling matches?
That ultimately, like, you think you get into a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
That's the means unto itself.
Yeah.
But maybe here's the thing, if it's a situation where being an NXT superstar was the front,
yeah,
and behind the scenes he was the Don of NXT, but he didn't put that out there for everybody to be well aware of when he was wrestling, that'd be interesting.
He very much publicly advertises that he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a whole camera crew showing up when he's talking about having murdered Cole Carter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is curious.
It is. So if it was a situation where, forward facing, hey, I'm just a wrestler. And then I know you'd have to have some sort of scripted vignette where there'd be a camera crew there.
Yeah.
Which, how would you motivate the unmotivated camera nonetheless?
Like, with a guy like Dijak, who it's not a vocational gimmick, but it's also like, I mean, it's kind of nebulous, like 80s vigilante guy.
Yeah.
But he's like so good in the ring, and the 80s vigilante stuff is so tongue-in-cheek. Like, Dijak gets the joke.
Yeah.
But they try to play up the Don stuff. I mean, it's not without its humor. I get that. But, like, I don't know. I don't really get it. He wrestles in an undershirt. Anyways. So yeah, that match happened. And I'm like,
if he got rid of the undershirt, would it be a benefit in your eyes? Because that's a sticking point for you. I can tell.
I'd like to say that it would be different, but I don't think it would be.
All right.
I think that it is emblematic of a much bigger issue, and until the much bigger issue goes away, I don't know. And like, I think I was kind of offended by this match because Ilya was selling him like he does everybody, like it's the end of the world, like he's absolutely getting murdered in there. I'm like, no, there's a difference between wrestling Gunther and wrestling Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You could dial it back a little bit, Ilya.
I agree with
this guy. You're not even main eventing today.
I know.
Speaking of which, the main event,
Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes. It was, I was expecting something incredible when Trick made his entrance, but to hear 13,000 people in unison chant "Whoop that Trick,"
yeah,
so good.
2029 WrestleMania main event. I could see it.
Maybe.
I could see it with these guys.
Maybe.
Because I think that's what they want to do. I think that Triple H is interested in like, okay, we want these forever feuds,
and continuity between NXT and main roster.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I could totally see it. Trick Williams is going to be, he's got the ingredients, and it's all in WWE Creative and him to get there, but he's got the ingredients to be the next Cena. I firmly believe he could be a Mount Rushmore guy. And I think they're going to get him there. And largely it has to do with his look, his size, his personality, his charisma, his character. And his in-ring is good. It's not Carmelo Hayes good, but it can get there. It took Cena forever to get there.
It did. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Trick gets the win. Carmelo just seemed too intent on using the chair to get the W.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to, because one of the things that Carmelo was saying, I watched their thing at the Go Home episode of NXT, their promo at the end, where Carmelo kept on saying, "Oh, Trick, you're just not at my level in terms of the in-ring aspect of it." But it was Carmelo that was resorting to shortcuts to try to get the win. So I just thought that was an interesting story beat there.
Well, they got to do this as a trilogy, right? Like they got to do this some more. Like it wouldn't shock me to see Trick's got to get the title. And then they can maybe, like, I don't know if they revisit it now or if they revisit it, they go away from it and then revisit it after Trick has the title or Carmelo gets the title. Maybe Trick gets the title, Carmelo gets it off him, and then Trick wins it off Carmelo. Maybe something like that. I don't know. But you got to figure, like, title is next for either this feud or Trick.
Yeah, for sure. Good show. Stay and deliver. Didn't get a chance to watch it over the weekend. Highly recommend it.
Good stuff.
We can kind of do a bit of a speed run through Smackdown recap since so much of it was related to WrestleMania.
Yeah, so like, I mean, that's what I'm looking at now. When you say speed run, let's stick to that because
we established Kevin Owens and why he likes golf carts.
Early on. Like a lot of the show was Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Logan Paul, and like a chase, basically. Trying to get him.
So the opening segment was Kevin Owens show with Randy Orton. We won't get into the nitty gritty of it per se. They're talking about how much they dislike Logan Paul. Logan Paul shows up at the Tron. He's at the Mania stage in Lincoln Financial, whereas SmackDown's at the Wells Fargo Center, I think across the street. And Kevin Owens is like, if he's there, we're here. That's just right across the street. Let's go. We just got to go through those doors out there, and there's the stadium. So they leave the ring. And as they are walking through the crowd to leave the arena, Theory and Waller get out from under the ring and follow them. So we go to commercial, we come back, and Orton's like trying to get into a car or something, trying to find a car to drive to the stadium. Kevin Owens rolls up in a golf cart, says, "Randy, get in." They go driving off, and then Theory and Waller are running behind them.
Yeah.
Then we got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They really speed ran this thing.
Yeah, like at this point, what's more likely? Next year they don't do it, or next year they put it on the Mania card?
Next year they don't do it.
Yeah.
It seems like this getting back on the Mania card isn't going to happen, especially if they're not doing pre-show matches.
Yeah, I don't know that this is going to stick around. It's such like it is such. I mean, look, it's good for. It doesn't even get people on the WrestleMania card.
No.
If you got to ask yourself, if it's not doing anything for anybody, like who won this? Bronson Reed won this.
Yeah, Bronson Reed. Yeah.
And they didn't even acknowledge it. Did they even do a package at Mania?
Nothing.
Like while I was out getting my food or something?
Nothing.
Yeah. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I know. Either make it matter. It's one thing for him, in this case, Bronson Reed, to show up. He does the pose next to the trophy. But then by the next week, it's forgotten about.
Yeah.
If it's not going to matter in terms of telling stories or whatever, then what's the point of it?
Then what's the point of it? Yeah.
What's the point of it?
Yeah.
Then we see Logan Paul. He's in the arena, not the stadium anymore.
Yeah.
We get a Final Testament promo talking about their match against Lashley and the Street Profits.
Oh, we had a Crimea River reference here. Now, anytime anybody uses a common phrase, Crimea River, it's going to be like, oh, it's a Jack Perry CM Punk thing.
I know. Then Logan Paul, he's got a promo in the arena. He just talks a bunch of crap about Orton and KO. We cut to the Mania stage, and Theory and Waller are there. They're looking for Owens and Orton.
Mm-hmm.
And Waller's like, I'm pretty sure they're not here. And then back in the arena, Owens and Orton emerge from under the ring. They attack Logan Paul. Owens hits Logan Paul with a stunner. Orton follows with an RKO. I am really hoping now, especially that Waller and Theory are tag champs, that Owens and Orton remain a team. Their chemistry is fantastic. It's obvious they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, Orton is at his best when he's having fun, and they do have terrific chemistry. Such an odd couple, but it works so well.
Really does.
It just depends on are they gonna go after Waller and Theory for those tag titles? We'll see, I guess.
And there's a story built in because they've been feuding with them on and off for a little while.
Yeah.
Backstage, someone's laid out Dragon Lee. Carlito's first on the scene, which makes us all think, given how WWE's presented this in the past, that Carlito's the one that attacked him. But anyways, the rest of the LWO and Nick Aldis step in to see what's going on. This precedes Zelina Vega versus Elektra Lopez. Lopez gets the win here after Dom yanks Ray off the apron, distracts Zelina. Then afterwards, Dom, Andrade, and Santos get in the ring while Ray is checking on Zelina. So Dom and Santos start stomping on Ray, and Santos like, come on, Andrade, join in. Instead, Andrade boots the shit out of Dom.
Yeah.
And then sends Dom and Santos out of the ring with clothesline, walks up to Ray, shakes his hand, and hugs him. And then we had an awesome reunion between Andrade and Zelina Vega. That was great.
It was so cute. Yeah, I know.
was great.
It was neat. She's the one who put a halt to all of his partying and turned him into an NXT champion back in the day.
Yep. It was pretty awesome. Then we had
remember they were like obsessed with party people back then.
They were. Damian Priest
was a party
Andrade,
guy. Yeah. You had what's his face? No Way Jose back then. He was a party
maybe
guy.
the nightlife in Orlando back then was something else.
Poppin'.
Maybe it really was. Then we had this really good promo bit with Naomi, Bianca Belair, and then eventually Jade Cargill. Their chemistry is off the charts.
Yeah,
I mean, we spent a good portion of the weekend praising this trio, and I don't know if they're going to stick together going forward after Mania or not, but I hope so because they're amazing together.
Yeah, I don't know what would be next for them necessarily, like in terms of feuds and stuff, but my goodness gracious, their chemistry's off the charts.
I think 2 of the 3 of them would challenge Asuka and Kairi for the tag titles.
Yeah, it could be. Bianca goes solo and Naomi and Jade, maybe. That could be. Yeah.
Could be. But the kind of the punctuation on all this is Jade comes to the ring and says, so the message for you, Asuka, Kairi, Dakota, you are now in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, the chemistry, it's like they were just riffing in there. Like, Naomi's like, you were getting dragged and beat up, and Bianca was like, well, yeah, you were getting dragged and beat up too.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was good.
It was really good. It was really good. We got a Jey Uso promo. He's the main event against Solo. He says, if you want Solo to get this yeet down, let me hear you say yeet.
Yeet down.
Yeet down. We're in the LWO locker room. Ray is talking to Andrade, and Zelina. Ref walks in and tells Ray, Dragon Lee ain't clear to compete. He's going to miss Mania. And then Andrade's like, well, if you need a partner, I'll be your partner. And they shake on it. And then Carlito runs and is like, hey, did you hear?
Dragon Lee's out.
And then Selena's like, yeah, Andrade's already raised new partner.
He's your partner. Okay, that's fine. Like all that work beating up Dragon Lee for nothing. Exactly. For nada.
And then we got New Catch Republic versus Waller and Theory. It's just after this match. And the fact that Waller and Theory weren't taken out of the ladder match, I was like, all right, Waller and Theory probably win the SmackDown tag title because they took the L here to New Catch Republic. And then Judgment Day hits the ring and just lays out everybody.
A little misinformation campaign there to suss out whoever's leaking info. After that, we had a really well done Bailey EO video package.
Yeah.
And then LA Knight comes to the ring and almost chokes on his gum. He's like
mid-sentence.
Like a cat with a fur ball.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, 2 nights and I'm feeling fresh as I walk in with a man that some call the phenomenal one. Let me level with you. I do think you're phenomenal at not showing up or running away, and this Sunday you'll be phenomenal at getting snuffed out, which, by the way, snuffed out means dead. He says, here's how it all goes. There's no more time for running, no more time for crying, because that's all you've been doing since you go. As soon as this guy, because he doesn't usually have gum in his mouth. Or
no,
at
I
least
think he always does.
Does he? I think
so.
I think it's because I knew he was going to choke on it going into it because I saw it on social media first that I noticed it.
Yeah.
He was chomping on that shit, and it was all I could pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Bleh." I'll give him plenty to talk about, and Philadelphia will know whose game this is with everybody saying LA Knight.
Yeah. Then we had a promo from the Street Profits, B-Fab, and Bobby Lashley, again, talking about their match against Final Testament. Lashley said this weekend, we're going to finish you. And then we had our main event, Jey Uso taking on Solo Sikoa. Was there actually a finish to this one?
No, Jimmy interfered.
That's right. So Jimmy interferes. Cody and Seth eventually make their way out. It all leads to Jimmy getting beat up. Seth used the weight belt on him. Jay hits him with the splash. And after that, I was like, oh, Jimmy's winning because WrestleMania. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
So then Cody takes the mic, says, 40 years of WrestleMania. Can you feel that? 40 years of WrestleMania. Talk about the pressure. Tomorrow night, my partner, my friend, Seth Rollins. We're going to slap the final boss so hard that his ego lifts out of his body. Remembers what it is to be the people's champion. We're going to shatter the bloodline, and on Sunday, I'm going to dethrone Roman Reigns. I'm fighting for every moment that has defined me. For anyone who has dreamed out in the open, and it was my dream to become champion, know this. When one story ends, an even better one begins.
Yeah, man.
And that was SmackDown. Wow, I got through that in like 10 minutes.
Good job. Well done. Look at that.
Well done. I'm going to answer some questions now.
We don't have a preview yet?
Nothing on WWE's Twitter, nothing on .com.
Wow. All right.
Maybe they want to keep everything a surprise. We can get Bronson Reed versus Otis. It's going to be a surprise.
Oh, wow. They should do a Moss versus... Oh, wait, Elias isn't with the company anymore. Do the annual Raw after Mania Omos match. The only match in the first hour of the show.
I know, and have it be 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Want to answer some questions? Yeah.
Yeah, man. I got a bunch here on the YouTube. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Lord Blake Whitehouse says, since I've got both the Patreon setup and the YouTube setup with the Friendo Club setup.
Oh, wow.
What tier level setup would you say I have? It's like the redundant setup.
Yeah, like the double Friendo Club setup.
The double stuff setup. There you go.
Double
stuff
setup. There you go. There you go.
We appreciate the support, Blake. We
do very much so. Justin Figueroa here says, what up, fairly new listener. Started listening right after War Games. I'm a huge Punk fan. Do you think something like this, referring to the release of the footage from All In, like this just sounds cheap and is just for a pop in ratings? I know we discussed that. If that's the extent of it, terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's all about how it's presented. And it, even if it's presented in a way that advances actual stories that are going on in AEW television, you can still make the point it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, we'll see. Proof will be in the pudding. Carlos Diaz says, what title does Gunther win in Berlin? Cody's or Drew's? Well, okay. Berlin's in August. Drew theoretically could win this thing back at
Clash at the Castle.
Or, Sami Zayn's kind of a loser. He might lose that Intercontinental Championship. But I feel like with Drew, it's got to be... They could give it back to Gunther. They can give the IC title back to Gunther in Berlin.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Frozen Tape here says, when the Shield's music hit during the main event last night, did y'all think for a split second that Mox was going to appear? Absolutely not. He's under contract with AEW. Never crossed my mind.
It did for me. Yeah.
Really?
I was running down who this could possibly be. For a split second. It was a split second. I was like, oh, wait. Ambrose? Roman? Seth. Oh. Yeah. No, everybody but the most logical. The only possible choice went through my head first.
Yeah.
Samuel Raja says, who do you guys reckon the Raw after Mania return will be? Sheamus, perhaps, he says.
Oh yeah, he said I think on an interview recently, there's huge things. He's got huge things planned for himself this year. So he's
Huge
a
things
free
for
agent
Shane,
later
though.
this year too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, somebody hasn't already signed a new deal. Sebastian Garcia here asks, will Roman Reigns be the first 3-time Hall of Famer? Once, Solo. Once, Bloodline member. Once, Shield member. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, but Barry Windham might also.
He's in as a Horseman
Uh-huh.
and a member of U.S. Express.
Yeah.
I think as a singles competitor, we get Barry Windham Hall of Famer.
He's deserving. Death Mask says, would you consider TK showing the footage there jumping the shark moment? It has the potential to be.
It depends how it's presented.
It does, yeah.
Depends how it's presented. That really is kind of the crux of the whole thing.
Blind Mass says, did the WWE not properly show the crowd excitement for night one? I was there and we were pretty loud, but I keep hearing the crowd was bad the first night. I feel like the crowd night 2 was just that excited because they were given a lot to work with. Yeah, absolutely. That's not on WWE.
Cameron Bordelaz.
Creatively speaking, it is. Presentation-wise, there's nothing you can do about it.
Maybe they saw night 1, but like, we didn't really accurately in terms of miking the audience and stuff.
Oh, that's possible. That's possible.
So let's up the levels.
Maybe they pivoted.
Cameron Bordelazzo says, on a scale of 1 to 10, what will the shock value be tonight for Raw after Mania?
Ooh,
I'm looking at this as more like, hey, season premiere. Excuse me. I expect us to get a date for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I don't have high hopes in terms of like huge surprises, returns, NXT call-ups, anything like that, because I feel like that's going to be done more organically, especially NXT call-ups. We just had a couple with Mello and Braun Breaker.
So if 10 is MJF and 1 is Omos versus Ivar as the only match in the first hour, I'm leaning towards like a 7. I think we're going to get a 7.
6.
Okay.
I think we're going to get more shocking stuff in terms of stories that we're going to see moving forward through the summer. If we have something like The Rock beating the hell out of Roman, that's going to be something shocking, even though it's kind of expected. Yeah. So I would expect more from a storyline perspective, something shocking happening as opposed to returns or debuts, whatnot.
Linear Print says, do you guys think the Young Bucks will release the real backstage footage, or do you think it's going to be a skit? All we can go by now is the reporting, and the reporting is saying it's the real stuff.
When I first saw the graphic, I thought, it's going to be a goofy reenactment. It's going to be a gag.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And then I think this is Kelmiko, says, I've downplayed the idea of the word back, but is wrestling back? Kelmiko says, I just watched a review of Mania from Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco.
Oh.
I got to watch that.
Yeah, that's probably really good.
There was, I think it was from Wrestle Purists, and then confirmed by Fightful that they're going to start saying pro wrestling again. We heard that last night at the end of Mania.
Mm-hmm.
That it's no longer on the list of banned terms anymore.
Yeah, man. Sports entertainment is now a thing of the past. So, yeah, it seems like pro wrestling, in the case of WWE anyways, has returned. Yeah. Shatz Production says, who challenges Cody first? That's a great question.
Who's on SmackDown? I know you thought it'd be AJ, but coming off a loss, I don't know. I don't feel like he's quite done with. We might get a rematch with LA Knight, which if he wins, then that could catapult him into potentially being one of Cody's first challengers.
Karrion Kross. DJ Fluffy says, if the plan is still Rock versus Reigns next year at Mania, when will they even announce it? Tonight or sometime later in the year? Oh, they'll build to it.
We might get the announcement of where Mania is going to be next year soon.
Yeah.
Whether it's Minneapolis or someplace else.
Let's see here. Survivor says, we sort of addressed this. I'm just trying to get to like people who I haven't seen before because we got a lot of new members here. So we're gonna try our best to get as many of these new names in.
Exactly.
Survivor says, do you think Tony Khan's anger towards CM Punk is going to be an increased detriment towards AEW? If he doesn't drop it, yes.
Yeah.
He needs to let this shit go and completely divorce himself of anything CM Punk says.
Yep.
He just needs to stop. Take my advice when it's the same thing when you get dumped. Forget the other person exists. Act like you don't give a shit. Move on.
Or if he wants the catharsis of getting it out of his system, do an appearance on a podcast. Tell the official AEW version of events.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to have a retort, do it on a platform that is more of a conversation like CM Punk was on. Yeah, as opposed to trying to get this video out there to pop a number.
Hey, go shoot some hoops.
Works for us. Work out. Yeah,
works for us. Out. Yeah. Brayway says, what do you guys think is next for Finn Balor? Yeah.
Maybe he'll be like, hey, Damien, let's go with the tag titles again. Let's go get our tag belts back.
He's going to have the same response that he had to our donut.
No, thank you. I'm fine.
Let's see here. Jonathan Vieira, this is just a comment, says, shoot that Paul Levesque era right into my veins. Kalmiko says, after hearing Roxanne Perez's slowed down heel theme, what wrestler had the best slowed down heel version of their theme?
Great question.
That is a really good question.
I don't know if he turned heel. Remember when Taz debuted and his theme was awesome? Had great energy.
Yeah.
And then they slowed it down at one point.
Yeah, I kind of.
And made it more of like a blues song.
Yeah.
And then they repurposed that for the Shield theme.
Yeah, and then that's the Shield theme. Yeah.
I feel like Logan Paul would be. Sorry to answer a previous question. Logan Paul would be a good early challenger for.
Oh, that is a good one. Yeah, that's good because he talked about having in advance of Elimination Chamber having 2 titles. That's a good one. Yeah, and then Cody can get the U.S. title too. Elemental Giant says, "What should main event Mania next year? Night 1. What should main event Mania?
Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair should main event Night 1.
Yeah, that's one of his options here. Yeah, I think that should main event Night 1.
And then Night 2 is going to be Rock Roman. Unless something happens, that's going to be the main event for Night 2.
Yeah. Bird Gang says, did NXT deserve a mid-card women's title before the main roster? NXT, if I'm not mistaken, NXT has they do more with their women's division than main roster does. So, I mean, sure. I don't know. Deserve? I don't know what deserve means.
I mean, if Shawn Michaels took the initiative and realized, hey, we need a mid-card title for the women's division and then implemented that plan, that's him having the forethought to do it.
Yeah. Royal Kong here says, do you think Priest will be a real champion, paper champion, or lose to the first challenger champion? And who will his first challenger be?
I mean, Drew's going to want a match ASAP, whether that's at Backlash or
I think they're going to do everything they can to make him a real champion.
I think so. Blind Mask, member for 11 months, says, just joined the stream, wasn't able to watch along, but hope all the friendos had a good time. Getting out of the stadium was insanely bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Kiddo Hudson says, AEW's down so bad, you guys stopped doing Collision reviews and brought back NXT reviews.
I mean, if something substantial happened on a regular basis on Collision, then we might have kept doing them.
You know what, dude? I will probably... Look, you can follow wrestling these days on social media and YouTube. So if something cool happens where somebody's like, oh my God, you got to check out this match on Collision, I'm going to do it. I'll check it out and we'll talk about it. Same way we talk about Stand and Deliver today,
Yeah.
We don't have to do detailed notes on every little thing.
Do you want to talk about Anthony Ogogo returning to AEW and joining Shane Taylor Promotions?
No.
All right.
No. Let's see here. And then Brent Darkhorse says, Steve, where'd you get that Karrion Kross idea? It's great. Key party match. Hey, man, I'm a very creative individual. Do you have any more questions over there from new friendos, Larson?
Not from new friendos, no. Let's see. Aussie here says, do you think Dustin cried when his little brother won the belt? I just saw a video of Ricky Starks celebrating.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, he was there at WrestleMania. Yeah.
I'd be pretty surprised if Dustin didn't shed a tear or two over his brother winning the title.
The blind
there's
mask
a couple
here.
comments here, not so much questions. So
The Blind Mask here has been a member now for 11 months and says just joined the stream, wasn't able to watch along.
Read that.
But my bad. So I was looking at the questions. Thank you, Blind Mask. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So anyways, is that going to do it for the day?
Sure.
All right.
We got to do our star ratings.
We got to do our star ratings. That's right. Oh man, they're so cold now. Should we even bother to do them, Larson?
Of course, because they're still fresher and hotter than those other guys.
Anyways, I know, dude. I know. It's been an hour and a half. Hilton's he's on my ass right now. He's wrapping me up.
Is this a situation where Undertaker's under the ring for the whole match and has to pop out at the end with Hilton over there crouching in the corner for the entire podcast, only for you to acknowledge him as the show closes? Is that the situation?
Poor old knees of Hilton's. What? I know. We are wrapping it up. Relax. This is how we're outroing the show. Who do you think is going to be the first person to notice what's going on up on the top here? On the new,
I don't know. It's a good question.
New thing.
It's a good question.
Anyways, that's gonna do it. Oh yeah, and we're doing a Raw After Mania watch along tonight.
Yeah, we'll do a watch along 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Yeah,
you got that right. Anyways, that's gonna do it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.